Hello dear children, welcome to today's English class on Madhu App. Children, do you remember what we discussed in our previous class? Very good. We discussed A Tiger in the House written by, yes, Ruskin Bond. Children, in our previous class we discussed the third scene, some part of the third scene, and today we are going to discuss the rest part of the same scene. Okay children, before going to start, let us just recall what was the plot of the third scene and who were the characters there. The plot of the story, it was in the Lucknow Zoo. Isn't it children? Lucknow Zoo, where grandfather left Timothy. Who were the characters? It was grandfather himself, keepers of the zoo. I told you earlier also that there were two keepers in the zoo and some spectators were present, some viewers, some audience were present in the zoo. Let us just quickly recall what we discussed in so far in the text. After about 6 months, the author's grandfather visited the zoo once again where he left Timothy. He petted the tiger and the tiger also licked his hands. The tiger was being terrified by a leopard in the cage that was next to Timothy's cage. Thus, the grandfather decided to request the authorities of the zoo to change the cage of Timothy. Look how the grandfather, when he met once again after 6 months with Timothy, he fondled Timothy, gave his affection to Timothy, went to the zoo, and there was a keeper. The keeper, he was surprised to have a look that grandfather, being a human being, he is fondling a tiger that was present inside a cage. Okay children, let us have a reading. Listen to me carefully while I am reading the text for you. Okay children? Grandfather went in search of the superintendent of the zoo, but found that he had gone home early. And so, after wandering about the zoo for a little while, he returned to Timothy's cage to say goodbye. It was beginning to get dark. He had been stroking and slapping Timothy for about 5 minutes when he found another keeper observing him with some alarm. Grandfather recognized him as the keeper who had been there when Timothy had first come to the zoo. "You remember me?" said grandfather. "Now, why don't you transfer Timothy to another cage, away from this stupid leopard?" "But sir," stammered the keeper, "it is not your tiger." I know, said grandfather tastily. "I realize he is no longer mine, but you might at least take a suggestion or two from me." "I remember your tiger very well," said the keeper. "He died 2 months ago." "Died?" exclaimed grandfather. "Yes, sir, of pneumonia. This tiger was trapped in the hills only last month, and he is very dangerous." Grandfather could not think of nothing to say. The tiger was still licking his arm with increasing relish. Grandfather took what seemed to him an ease to withdraw his hand from the cage. With his face near to the tiger's, he mumbled, "Good night, Timothy," and giving the keeper a scornful look, walked briskly out of the zoo. Okay children, let us discuss first the meanings of the unfamiliar words. Look children, slink back. It means creep back or slide back. पछकु आसीबा. Wander, it means walk or roam. Alarm, it means shock or fear. Stammered, it means spoke with difficulty. Mumbled, बहुत कष्ट रे किछि कहि परिबा. Low voice रे कहिबा. Mumbled. Testily, it means impatiently, धैर्य हरा होई, without any patience. Pneumonia is the name of a disease. Actually, it is a viral infection that affects the lungs. फुसफुस को affect करुथबा, प्रभावित करुथबा गोटे disease रो नाम. Okay, children. Next, release. It means delight or pleasure. Mumbled, again it means murmured. Gunu gunu hei kahiba, whispered. Scornful, it means disrespectful. Respectful means सम्मान रो सहित, disrespectful means असम्मान. Briskly means quickly. Okay, children? Children, now let us discuss the text line by line. As we discussed that after 6 months, when grandfather went to the zoo, he found Timothy in certain difficulty. Now, what was the difficulty? There was a leopard next to his cage, and the leopard, it was always trying to make Timothy feared. It was trying to make Timothy not comfortable inside the cage. So naturally, grandfather, who with lots of love and affection kept Timothy inside his house, wanted that Timothy should stay inside the zoo comfortably. Grandfather went in search of the superintendent of the zoo just to make a complaint, just to inform the higher authority, who is the superintendent of the zoo, about the difficulty that Timothy faced inside the cage. Grandfather went in search of him, but found that he had gone home early that day, but unfortunately was unable to meet with the superintendent because he had already left for home. So, after wandering about the zoo for a little while, he roamed here and there inside the zoo for some time. Again, he returned back to Timothy's cage. Because it was beginning to get dark, it was getting darker, so he wanted to say a goodbye and leave the zoo. He had been stroking and slapping Timothy for about 5 minutes. As earlier, he fondled Timothy. He tried to slap and stroke Timothy with his fur. This time also, he continued with the same process. He was trying to give his love and affection to Timothy for some more time. Meanwhile, he found another keeper. Remember, children, we discussed about 2 keepers. In the character, we found that there were 2 keepers. Earlier, we met with the second keeper, and this keeper that grandfather met with is the first keeper, who was present at the time when Timothy was left in the zoo for the first time 6 months ago. Found another keeper, and this time the keeper, he was observing grandfather with some alarm. The keeper was trying to recognize grandfather because he was present at that time when Timothy was left in the zoo. Grandfather recognized him. Equal was the response from grandfather. He also recognized the keeper. Recognized him as the keeper who had been there when Timothy had first come to the zoo. First, Timothy came to the zoo. It was 6 months ago, isn't it? 6 months ago. Okay. Then grandfather started a conversation with the keeper. You remember me? Do you remember? Now, he as the keeper was also one person of the Jew authorities, as he himself was involved in the process of sifting the animals, keeping the animals, taking care of the animals. So, grandfather informed the keeper about the difficulty that Timothy was facing being inside the cage. Now, why don't you transfer Timothy to another cage? Because Timothy was not feeling comfortable in the present case, away from this stupid leopard. Now, why? What was the reason behind? Because of the leopard that was staying in the next cage. But sir, stammered the keeper. Stammered means spoke with difficulty or mumbled, isn't it? The keeper stammered with a low voice, with not confidently. The keeper said, "Sir, this is not your tiger. This tiger doesn't belong to you." The keeper said so. Grandfather also corresponded with the keeper by saying, Yes, I know, said the grandfather testily. Yes, he accepted. He corresponded with the keeper by saying, Yes, I know. No longer Timothy belongs to me. I have already handed over Timothy to the Jew authorities. So, but I realize he is no longer mine. But at least you might take 1 or 2 suggestions from me, as it was me who was the earlier master of Timothy. It was me who had kept the Timothy with me inside my house for the last 6 months. You may take some suggestions from me. I remember your tiger very well, sir, said the keeper. The keeper continued what he said. Sir, I remember the tiger named Timothy very well. And the tiger is no more now. The tiger died. It was 2 months ago, 2 months before. The tiger Timothy died. Died? Exclaimed grandfather. Now, grandfather was not at all in a state to accept the reality. What are you saying? Died? My tiger died? He exclaimed. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The reason was pneumonia. Timothy died of a disease, and the name of the disease was pneumonia. This tiger was trapped in the hills only last month. The tiger that you came across now, it was not your tiger, rather it is a new tiger, and this tiger, it was trapped last month only. And what I feel, the keeper, he said, grandfather, what I myself feel, this tiger, it was very dangerous. It was very dangerous and it was very hard to deal with. Grandfather could think of nothing to say. It was as if grandfather became speechless. He could not understand what was happening. He could not believe that Timothy died. The tiger was still licking his arm with increasing release. Very surprising that the tiger, it was corresponded the love and affection that grandfather was giving to it. Not being Timothy, the tiger also gave affection and respect to the grandfather. Grandfather took what seemed to him an age to withdraw his hand from the cage. Grandfather became very emotional when he came to know about the reality. It took him an age. It was with a very difficulty that the grandfather brought out his hands from the cage. With his face near to the tiger's, he mumbled. Grandfather, with a low voice, mumbled, "Good night, Timothy." It was time to say goodbye to Timothy. He should leave the place now. So, saying good night with a very low voice, with a faint voice, grandfather, giving the keeper a scornful look. With a scornful look, grandfather walked out of the Jew. Straightly he went out of the Jew. It was the keeper who told the grandfather about the death of Timothy. So, naturally, the grandfather did not pay any respect towards the keeper. With a disrespect look, threw to the keeper and straightly went out of the zoo because he no longer wanted to stay in the zoo. Okay, children, this much was the text. Children, let us gather some of the important notes of the total story, A Tiger in the House. Some of the important notes of the story. This is a story of a tiger cub. And the name of the tiger cub was Timothy, who was brought to the writer's home by his grandfather. It was grandfather who brought Timothy to his home. Initially, when Timothy was a cub, he was very friendly with the other two pets. You remember the other two pets? Who were the other two pets? One was a mongrel puppy and second one was a Toto the monkey. Isn't it? In the house, one was Toto, a monkey, and the other was a puppy. The writer and Mahmoud, the cook of the house. Okay, next. But as he grew up, as Timothy grew up, he became dangerous. When Timothy was about 6 months old, the grandfather decided that it was time to shift Timothy to a zoo. No more safe now because of his wild instinct. Timothy was gradually developing some wild characters. So, the grandfather felt it was not safe to keep Timothy inside the house. Thus, he took him to the zoo, and the nearest zoo was in Lucknow. The zoo authorities were too glad to receive a well-fed and fairly civilized tiger as a gift from grandfather. After about 6 months, the author's grandfather visited the zoo once again. He petted the tiger. After grandfather reached there, found the tiger in the same case earlier. Patted the tiger and the tiger also licked his hands. The tiger was being terrified by a leopard in the cage next to him. So, being concerned, grandfather wanted that the cage of the tiger should be changed. Thus, the grandfather decided to request the authorities of the zoo to change the cage of the tiger. Here, grandfather came to know that it was not his tiger but a wild one. It was not his own tiger, Timothy, that he gave to the zoo. Timothy, what happened to Timothy? Timothy passed away and 2 months ago due to the disease pneumonia. He bade the tiger saying a good night and returned to his home because it was dark. Look children, when we discussed part 1 of the story, scene 1, we found that the tiger, it was in the Tarai jungle and it was a baby tiger. It was a tiger cub, isn't it? In part 2, the tiger was present in grandfather's house, gradually growing up into a full size of a tiger. When we moved to part 3, when we found that the tiger was now a full-size tiger and he was present in the Lucknow Zoo. Okay children, let us discuss some questions and their answers just to check how far you understood the text. Okay. Question number 1. Answer the questions in a word or a phrase. who wanted to see the superintendent? Tell me, children. Very good. Grandfather. Okay, children. Number 2. Who had gone home early? Very nice. The superintendent. Isn't it? Okay. Next. Whom did grandfather recognize? Very nice. The first keeper. Next, what happened to Timothy? Very good. Died of pneumonia. Remember the spelling of pneumonia, children? Pneumonia. While pronouncing, P remains silent. Okay. Moving next. When was the tiger trapped? The tiger that grandfather saw inside the zoo after 6 months. When it was trapped? Very good. It was trapped only last month. Okay. Good night, Timothy. Who said this? Very good. Grandfather. Next, whom did grandfather give a scornful look? Very good. The first keeper. Next, how did grandfather walk out of the zoo? Very good. Briskly. Okay, children. Next, question number 2. Fill in the blanks. Tell me, children. It was beginning to get dash. Very good. Dark. Okay. Another keeper was observing him with some dash. Very nice. Alarm. Next. But sir, dash the keeper. It is not your tiger. Fill in the blank. Very good. Stammered. Next. I know, said grandfather dash. Very good. Tastily. Okay. Timothy died of dash. The name of the disease was? Very good. Pneumonia. Okay, children. Next, write T for true and F for false statements. Okay, children. The superintendent was observing grandfather with some alarm. True or false? Very good. False. It was the keeper. Mahmud was very dangerous. True or false? Very good. False. Timothy died of pneumonia. Very good. True. The tiger was licking the keeper's arms. Very nice. False. The keeper went out of the zoo briskly. Good. False. It was the grandfather. Okay, children. Children, today we completed the story The Tiger in the House. Let us just learn what was the moral of the story. That moral says no animals are dangerous. They can be made docile with humanly qualities like love and affection. With this, we'll stop today. Okay children, bye bye.